Welcome back to another great episode of Comedians in Bed, where comedians can be comedians. I don't really know what that means, but it just sounds like something that you should say on a podcast. And I am in bed today, just for the simple fact because I don't have air, and this is the coolest place there is to do it. So I'm forced to be in bed. But I have another great comedian for you. Always, I got to give him a great introduction. This person. I would say about maybe 2 years ago, because it wasn't last year. I think it was 2 years ago. I was sitting in the back at at the funny bone, or maybe I was at the top. I think I was at the top, and I was at the top, and then this person came up, and then they started telling their jokes, and I was like, "Oh my freaking gosh! Oh my gosh! Are you freaking serious? Who is this?" I thought I was just maybe a little bit too high,
Stay
but
off the weed.
I wasn't too high. My eyes saw and they heard what they heard, and that's a great comedian. And we got her on this show today. Please, everybody, give it up for Bridget Mendy.
Hi.
What's going on? How you feeling?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. And I know. I think I told you this already, but just to just reinforce how good you are, my mom actually likes you. She doesn't really.
Oh, yay. I love that. I love making
Her
moms laugh. They deserve
her,
it.
her comedy palette is a little. It's a little. It's pretty. You don't really cuss, but she don't do cussers.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I don't really cuss that much. Yeah, that is true.
Is that a bro? Why did I move it?
I
is
think
that on
it's
is that on purpose or
no, I think it's because I do I actually it might be. I just am not like a big cusser, I guess, on stage. I feel like I keep it kind of clean. Um when I do improv too, I do keep it pretty clean. I did like a team where you're supposed to not be cursing on stage. So I kind of just have like a subconscious, like, no cursing in my set. Although I do say some dirty things. So I think that kind of makes up for it anyway.
yeah, yeah. I'm definitely starting to cuss a little bit more,
Yeah. Sometimes it can be fun to say fuck every once in a while.
but I only cuss on stage. I only cuss in life, like when I'm going through something. So I've been cussing for the past 2, 3 years. So,
Oh, damn.
um,
You really going through it.
yeah, but it is fun sometimes. But then I'll be cussing. I'll be like, bro, that's so not you to cuss on stage. We only cuss in traffic. We only cuss in traffic.
I get
Only
that.
cuss in traffic. Um, did you like used to live in Chicago or something? Like you did.
Yeah.
Were you born and raised in Columbus or?
Yeah, I'm born and raised in Columbus, but I moved to Chicago for a guy, and I was like, I want to start a new life. And I went out there and I started doing comedy, and that's kind of where I started improv and stand up and sketch and all that. So it was a awesome learning experience. I couldn't honestly hack it like during the day, which probably still rolls over into my life now. I'm not like a big corporate girl, but it was hard doing it back then. You know, I worked in restaurants too. So if you're working at night, it's like, oh, well, I'm not going to be able to make it to the show if it's a Friday night. So it was
Yeah.
kind of a harder balance, but I did stay for a few years, almost 3.
Okay. Okay. Well, Columbus to Chicago, Chicago, back to Columbus. When you came here, did you notice maybe that it was a little bit easier, or did you find it more comfortable to do comedy here in Columbus in your hometown?
So before I left for Chicago, I left in 2015 and in November. So like that entire summer and even some of the spring, I had friends who were comics. So I would go to their open mics, which is like crazy to me now to think of like the fact that I went to like multiple open mics and didn't do comedy.
Hmm.
So the scene was still really small back then and it was not at all like it is today. And I think now, Chicago definitely, you know, made me realize a lot of things I do like and don't like in comedy. But coming back to Columbus has really showed me like I was burnt out when I got back here. I was tired. I didn't really make that many friends. Like I was doing it so often, like probably 4 nights a week, and it was so hard to make friends. But in Columbus, it was so much easier. So I think that really helped. It helps too, like having your hometown be your hometown. I was comfortable with my life, and comedy was just like another thing for me to explore. It was hard to like start at ground zero,
Hmm.
but it was looking back on it, like it was definitely fun. Back then when you first start, you think like, oh my gosh, like when am I going to get put on a show? Like, you think about your first show or, your first time on stage in front of new people, or you get put on a team or something. And now, I feel like sometimes I can take that for granted where I'm like, oh, why am I not on this? Or why am I not on that? It's like, oh, girl, you came from nothing, like you had to start all over. So I have to like keep that perspective in mind sometimes.
Is there a different gear that you have to use when you do improv versus when you do stand up?
I think so. I think stand up is way harder than improv because in stand up you have your jokes, you have your cadence and you have a new audience that you can work with. Like that's the variable that's always different. Um, but that's the thing you can't control. You can only control yourself. But in improv, I mean, you're not really thinking of anything except for right then and there. So it's not like you have anything in your back pocket. And I think it's more freeing to me because it's like, oh, you're not gonna see the same show every night. But in stand up, it's like, oh, I can't believe I didn't get this tag on this joke. Like my set is ruined. It's hard to switch gears, but I do like that balance too. It can go either way too, like with a crowd. Sometimes they're not feeling it in stand up and sometimes they're not feeling it in improv. So it could really go either way. There's always like an element of surprise, but stand up I think is harder. Have you tried improv, Ty?
Yes, I tried improv way before I started doing comedy. I did like an improv class one time and it was cool. Um, I didn't go back, but it was definitely cool, and I would definitely suggest that um any comedian try to do go and do improv. Um, I like it. I wouldn't mind getting back into it.
Yeah, I get that.
Uh,
It's also like when you see a bad improv show, it's pretty much the same as seeing some bad stand up because it's either way when you're watching bad comedy, you can kind of see everyone freaking out up there. So the lows are just the same.
I feel like if you did bad at improv, though, excuse me, it would just be more awkward because it's just like, oh, we all collectively agree that all of you, not one, but all of you are just not our cup of tea.
What's cool though is that you're like, if we go down, we go down together. And I do kind of use the same mindset when it comes to stand up, where it's like, if my friends are laughing, then I'm okay and I'm comfortable with bombing up here. And the same in stand up too. Like if comedians are laughing at my jokes, I'll be happy about that. Obviously, I want the audience to laugh, but sometimes you can't, not everyone's going to like the way that you write your jokes or deliver them. So you can go either way.
I feel like improv is just a little bit too much energy for me.
You have to come on stage like strong, ready to go.
You
There's
do, and
no
it's
bad
just
days.
it's like, nah, that's not me. I was talking to Henry about that. Like, my biggest concern is like how people will adjust to me because some days I'd be like high energy, and some days I'll be like super low, and then some days I'll be like super ranty, and I'll just be like, I don't know how people are going to perceive me because I feel like sometimes when you do comedy, when you get like a good fan base, they kind of sometimes kind of keep you stuck in this one box, and I don't like that because I don't know how I don't. I mean, I'm pretty consistent, but like when I'm like super low, it's just because I'm like super high. That's just like what it is. So like like, but I have to like remind myself like, oh, you high, bring the energy up, talk a little bit faster because they're probably going to be tuned out. Like so,
You say that, but like every time you go up there, even if you are like not feeling it that day or are super hyped, I feel like I'm just always so interested and drawn to whatever it is you're about to say. So I think you like take that into account when you're writing your jokes, like, oh, I can draw this out a little bit more. Seeing
yeah.
someone, is gonna linger on with me, and I usually always do. So I
I
like
think it's
listening to your cadence about it.
I think it's the voice.
Yeah,
Like
you definitely have
the
a good
sound of the
voice.
voice. Yeah, I think it kind of makes you interested and pay attention. I think what I like about you, your writing is very, very crisp. This is something I've never like. I'll suck. Okay, so I have a degree in sociology, but before sociology, I took like several years of communication. Ended up my senior year in college without a major. It's a whole book. But I realized that we're both journalists, and I feel like
Yeah.
journalists, like sometimes if you don't continue being a journalist, like you end up doing something else creative, like acting or screenwriting or comedy. And I don't know if there's like a correlation. Like I kind of don't see journalism as the same way. I kind of see it as a creative art now instead of like whatever people deem it as. Like, and that's what I like about you the most. Like you have really good writing. Like when I first heard you, I was like, where the fuck has she been? Like, like who is that? You know what I'm saying? And yeah, you have really good writing. Like
Oh,
really
thank
good.
you.
Yeah, you really good writing.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a writing background, so I guess originally when I was in school, I wasn't gonna go for journalism. I was a marine biology major, which thankfully I switched because that wasn't gonna go anywhere for me. So I switched to journalism and I loved it, but I was always very comfortable behind the screen or like on paper,
Oh, it's cool. I thought I was tripping. I thought I was high, but it's cool. Hold on.
it was easier being behind the screens. And now, like, I had a horrible fear of public speaking, and then I took an improv class, and it just, like, really helped, and then I kinda started getting, like, addicted to, like, doing bits and, getting on stage, and eventually that, like, led me down the road to stand up a couple years later, so I don't know, the transition was kinda hard just because if you're a writer, like, as you are, it's not something you envision when you're writing. You're not like, "I'm gonna tell this on stage one day," or like, "I'm gonna be telling jokes." Like, it kinda just happens, like, the mix of things, the ingredients were all there, and
Yeah.
I started doing it, it just, like I just never stopped. I just, like, wanted more, and that perfectionism of different things fed into play, like, "Oh, if you wanna write a perfect article and it gets published, like, that's it, you can't fix anything."
Yeah.
And it's not like that with comedy, but at the same time, your set is, like, so important to you, that's what you wanna do eventually.
Um. Yeah. I There's definitely structure in comedy. I feel less. I feel more freedom in stand up as opposed to like writing an article or some crap like that. Because what did it for me was like when my news director was like, "Yeah, well, not my well, yeah, my news director and the person I reached out to, like, yo, we can't do an interview about that." And I'm like, "What? This is crazy." So it was a rude awakening, but I get more freedom in stand up. But even with that, you still have restrictions in different levels. I'm not one of those comics that'll go up there and talk about abortions. That's just not me. But I think even with those type of topics, it still comes with like limitations if you abide by them or not, I guess.
Yeah, one of, like, my first first jokes that I wrote that I really liked was about that. I don't really tell much anymore, but I think you just kinda, like, grow as you do it longer, and you're like, "Alright, I can write something a bit better than this, and it's not gonna be something that everybody else is talking about," so I get that.
Yeah, yeah.
What
So
were you
now, go ahead. My fault.
what were you, like, writing about? What was your beat?
Oh, I was a news and a sports reporter at a TV station.
Okay.
Yeah,
Like,
so I would
any
just write
local
like yeah, like local news stations. So I would just like write I would just do stories all day. Just it was one of like a smaller station, so I had to do the camera, I had to do the editing, I had to write the script. I do all that shit, and I was just like, yeah, this is too much. This is way too much. And I didn't. It's not that I didn't like it. It was just what really happened was I got my car repo, and I was like, oh, time for me to go home.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Journalism doesn't make you very much either, which is just as
yeah, man.
like I'm
Yeah,
gonna make no money in journalism, so now I'm gonna pivot to comedy.
yeah. It's weird, but I do, as I grow, I do want to make like documentaries and stuff as like one form of like journalism. I really love documentaries.
Me too.
I think it's pretty cool. I could watch documentaries all fucking day.
Me too. What's your favorite one?
My favorite documentary of all time. I don't think I have one,
Or maybe like
but
one that you watched recently that you really like.
yeah, I watched. I don't want to talk about that. That was like a crime doc. I
I watched
watched.
I
I
watched
don't
the one
really
about
care.
the
I don't,
Patriots. That one was cool.
the what?
The one about the Patriots and like Bill Belichick and that one was pretty.
Oh, yeah. The thing about Apple TV is I don't have it, and I don't really want to pay for it. And I used to have my ex, and we don't talk, so I don't want to hit her up and be like, "Hey, can I get your Apple TV?" But I really do need it because that Idris Elba show when he was on the airplane is coming up for season 2.
Yeah. And I mean you got 30 for 30 on there. It's pretty good.
I know. I want to be
You are
like,
mine, it's okay.
oh man. I know I watched one recently. I did, but I can't. Oh, I watched one about I watched one about Ashley Madison.
I watched that too, yeah.
Yeah.
That
That
one
was
was good.
crazy because I remember it like back then when you not first had internet, but like had those thicker computers, those desktops, like those pop-ups used to pop up all the time and they were Ashley Madison. I was like, people really do this? Like this is crazy. Like so to see like the documentary about it, it was pretty cool. But one documentary that like stays with me for like a while now. It's this I think it's called American Circumcision or something like that. It's basically about males getting circumcised in America and how some males try to grow back their foreskin. It's a very
Oh,
wild. Documentary.
are you
It's
for
a
or against it? Are you foreskin forward or not?
Yeah, I'm for foreskin, man, because like I felt jet. Like it's basically our clitoris, and they're basically cutting off our clitorises, and we're not really getting to experience sex like we really want to experience sex. But I'm not about to grow it back. I'm definitely not doing that.
I didn't
But I
realize
just
you could grow it back.
yeah, you get like this machine, and you like use it for like certain hours a day. It's weird, but I'm not growing it back though. But I
Hours,
just
that's a job.
yeah, I know, right? I feel like I don't know, it just kind of really made me realize how perverted America is and like I think like women really harp about their body, their rights, but it made me really realize like dang men go through this too. It's just not as broadcast or as on the same level as women. But in retrospect, I'm not saying that it should be, but it should be its own thing that we should talk about because that's just weird to be cutting off babies' dicks. We don't really have to.
Yeah.
And yeah, America's just real perverted. I don't really get our sense of perversion with like trying to control people's bodies. It's so weird. I don't really get it.
Yeah. That's a whole documentary series right there.
Yeah, it's like a real serious documentary, and I seen it on Peacock. It might still be on there, and I was just like, whoa, like this is crazy. Like no one ever. I mean, you watch porn, and you be like, oh, he got a funny looking dick, but like that's what a dick's supposed to really look like, and like it really made me what it really did. It really taught me about. I can't believe we're talking about this, but it really taught me about like a penis, like how it works, like the nerves. No one
Yeah.
really teaches you that. They just teach you like, hey, you got a big dick, like you're good to go. But like there's so much, and then that made me explore to like penis health and like making sure, you got healthy blood flow. It just sent me down this whole spiral path, which I'm happy about because like no one really teaches you about your penis, and that really started the whole like if you follow me on IG, I'll be posting random shit about penis health, but like no one really teaches you. Like it's crazy.
It's
Like
so funny because you'll post, like you'll be like, "Here's a stand-up clip from a couple days ago," then it'll be like, "Men need to talk more about their penile health.
no, because like
Men need
listen,
to do
man,
Kegels."
for real, man. I'm trying to tell you, man, like when I started doing it, like the amount of men that just come talk to me about like their issues, like just in general, but like their penile issues. I'm like, this is really a thing. Like, we really do not talk about it. Like, we just really don't. And like when I tell people like the stuff I do or whatever, they'd be like, "So what do you do again?" You
Like,
can
I
tell
put
they're
it on
really
this
interested.
machine, I sit with it for 5 or 6 hours a day, just yanking
But like
on
our
it.
our dads don't really like teach us that. And then like you really think about it, like how much that really ruins relationships. Like women, like they'll dog you if you can't get your penis up, but they don't even know how a penis works themselves. So it's like we both look stupid. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I try to like advocate for men in any way possible, shape, or form, because no one really does. And we just criticize women so much and degrade women so much for their flaws, but we have flaws too, and no one talks about it and no one try to helps us with it. So yeah, I try to be an advocate for all things men as much as possible.
I see where you're going. I see where you're going with it. It is still
Yeah.
crazy whenever I'm on Instagram, though, and I'm like, "Hi. I'll see you later, I guess." But it's fun.
Oh man. But it's so much better than like Viagra, Blue Chew. I don't know. It's just more like literally if you just eat watermelon and beets, you'll be good. Like
Okay, that's a good
you'll
diet. I
be
can get
so.
into that.
And I think it's just good too for women to know too, because like they be dogging us, man. Like a woman will leave you if you can't get your shit up, or if you got
I mean,
that
depends on
peen
the woman
game.
you're talking to. You gotta talk to someone who's,
Yeah.
compassionate,
But then I
who's
also
therapy.
I also learned about like women too. Like, sometimes like Ricky Lake got one, but I haven't seen it yet. She got a documentary about birth control and how like it like affects women's bodies and stuff. And
Oh, yeah.
I know like
It's
with birth control, like it makes it, for some people like dry up a little bit. But there's like a herb you can take. It's called macaroot. And I was like, oh shoot. So I can't sit here and clown my girl if she on birth control trying to take care of herself and
we're gonna
her
need
stuff
you to
ain't
open up
working.
your own healthcare
I know, right? I
the Ty Erskine MD way.
it just kind of made me like, I don't know, like I don't know, I like to learn. So it just kind of made me be like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't dog people for this, because like it's just people just going through because they don't know. So
That's also a very journalist thing, is like, I
yeah,
started doing it because I wanna know everything, I wanna be an expert in everything, and you have to be because you're writing facts, so
yeah,
I get how
yeah.
that can be. You're just a curious person.
What's that one documentary that has stuck with you?
I love true crime documentaries. Um, Obviously Gypsy Rose, that one's a great one. Seen that a few times. I used to also watch like I watched a lot of sports ones. I used to be a power lifter, so I watched like all the CrossFit ones and Pumping Iron. Watched that like 10 times. So I watched a lot of those, like Mr. Olympia. Um, those ones were cool. I mean, it's crazy too. Your body can do such insane things. I do like the sports ones too. So it's either that or true crime. I did watch the Malice at the Palace. That was a new one that I watched. I really liked that, with like Meta World Peace and everything. That was really cool. Yeah, that's typically what I
Yeah,
kind of like for.
yeah, I can get down with the sports ones, the 30s for 30s. I just watched the Butch Reynolds one. He trained me a couple times. I used to run track in high school. I never
Oh,
like kind
that's
of
cool.
asked his story and stuff like that. So that was a pretty good one. This one documentary that I watched, it sent me down a spiral. It's called Solitary on HBO Max, which is like it's one of the worst prisons or toughest. It's like a super max prison, and
I've
it
seen
got
some of
it
those.
and it interviews people who are in super max. And this one dude, he been in Supermax for like 17 years, like solitary confinement for 17 years because he slashed the Warren's face. And like this one dude got double life sentences in like 16 days or some weird shit like that. And they just it's just like it just like and ever since I watched that documentary, I have a fear that I'm going to jail. It's so weird
You
because
know,
I'm like, bro, how do you stay in that environment for 23 hours a day? Like it's just it's crazy. Like our jail system in general is just crazy.
it's fucked up, but if you're going to jail, you're not going there unless, you've done something that the prison system thinks that you should go there for, but the whole system is a joke in my opinion anyway. I talk about it in my
Yeah.
stand up even, like, it really is. I think the American justice system is completely fucked.
Yeah, I know it's not good. I have a love. Well, I don't even have a love hate. I don't know how I feel about. I know how I feel about the justice system. I don't really know how I feel about cops because my great aunt, who growing up, she was my grandma. She used to be a deputy sheriff. I have like a sympathy for cops because like living with one, it's tough. They crazy,
My
and
whole
so I can
family my whole family are not into cops
yeah.
at all.
So I just be wondering like what like mental health advocacy do they have? Like how do they turn that off when they go home? Because living with one, it was brutal. She was very, very mean. So I can only imagine how, especially in today's, well, I don't think any time was a good time, but yeah, I just be concerned about them because like for you to just come out of the blue to pull someone over that you don't know and for you to cuss them out and just say you gonna shoot their effing head off just for not following your commands. That's an issue. Like something's not right up
Yeah,
here. But then I think about them being on patrol and them having to worry about their livelihood all hours of the day. Like you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I got a love hate relationship with like with the cops for sure. Um,
I get it. It's like with authority in general for me,
yeah,
just so I get
yeah,
it.
yeah. But that's why I love about documentaries because I feel like it's one of our last true forms of and granted not everyone is creditable, but like it's one of our last true forms of like real news. Like I remember waking up reading newspaper and
Me
shoot,
too. I
you
was a
can't even do that
newspaper
anymore.
reader.
Yeah, man, I used to be strange. I used to read the newspaper and shit, like So yeah, it's crazy. Do you do? But I'm gonna wrap. I'm gonna start wrapping it up here, and I'll just ask you this. Well, no, I'll ask you this. This will be our last question for wrap it up. Do you plan on is it like your goal to do comedy full time?
Oh yeah, I would love it. It would be great. I do want to be realistic because like it is a lot to even have a full-time job and do something creative. Like that's in itself a lot of shit that you have to do.
Yeah,
But I don't know if I'm ready to like take the leap and just do it full time. I would love to. I've thought about it a few times. Um, but it's definitely something, I have a fiance and I don't think we could do it just like on him alone if I were to do it. I would love to though. I think ultimately right now my expectation with it is to have as much fun as I can and then get as much experience and get myself out there as much as I can and then see where that takes me. Because I mean, you can be someone who has I feel like there's so much discourse on like being a full-time comedian or like being an amateur versus a pro, things like that. So different now because of social media. So I guess it kind of just depends where that goes and if I can sustain whatever it is I want to do in comedy. I think eventually, like, I would like to do like 30 minutes, maybe like release a special. I would love to travel more and like take more time out, maybe have a job that would like give me that liberty to do it. But I don't think I would go into it full time until I was really, really ready.
yeah. No,
That's
I
kind
get
of
it.
how I feel about it.
I get it. I don't make nearly. I mean, that's the goal, but I'm not even thinking about it right now because I don't make enough from comedy to even do that. So that's not
Yeah.
really something I'm thinking about. I'm just really trying to position myself to even be in a position to do that. But the reason why I asked is because I don't know if you remember, I said I wanted to talk to you about something a couple weeks ago, and basically what I wanted to talk to you about, it was nothing bad at all. Um, I mean, I kind of like give everybody, and I need to start asking people if they want it or not before I do, because I usually ask people in general outside of comedy, are you just venting to me or are you asking for my opinion? So I'm gonna be more cautious in doing that going forward. But um, I honestly know that you could be a full time comedian, and the only reason why I wanted to say something to you about it was because I know we be saying stuff online, but I do always look at it with a squinty eye, and just some of the stuff you post. Sometimes I'll be like, "Well, let me pull it to the side," So, but I don't. But I get it too because like just trying to like achieve a dream where you kind of don't have a blueprint on how it's done, and everybody has their own version, and you might not have as much motion as you feel you should have or that you want at that time. It may be like, all right, is this really possible? But I just wanted to, uh, if it means anything to you, to let you know that I do believe in you, and I feel like you're one of the best writers in the scene that we have.
Oh,
And to be honest with you, one of the things I've been telling people that I feel like it can make it, man. You cannot with whatever you do, you cannot let the scene like destroy you. It can
oh
very
yeah.
much take it all out of you, and you cannot. And I think my first 2 years here, well, I've only been doing it here, but my first 2 years, it was just like draining because it's like, okay, I was just very anxious. Like, I gotta make it. I gotta do this reels. I gotta do that. I gotta do that. And there's always something new. But I do feel like at some point, each comedian kind of like settles in. And I just, what helped me was like, you go to college, people be like, I used to ask people all the time in college, like, what is college like? And they'll always tell me, college is what you make it. And I kind of feel like here in this comedy scene, just in wherever comedy scene, it is what you make it. And for me, what's kind of helped me keep going is like there's more open mics than shows. So only thing I can really control is my funny. So just write and just hit as many mics as possible. And I feel like if you keep doing that, like you'll look up and you'll be light years ahead of where you want to be. But I just don't want you to let this scene like destroy that confidence. It's just kind of like a big playground, and you just kind of use it for what it is until you see, okay, this is who I am. This is what I want to write about. This is the direction I want to go. And I want to do that in this city. And even if it's in Columbus, that's great. But like, don't let this scene like kill that dream. Like I know you're one of the best that we have here. You're definitely a great writer. If
Thank
no one
you.
else, if no one else sees you, the way I see it is like this. If people are hyping up other people and they're not saying my name, they're not saying my names in rooms or whatever the case may be, I don't get mad about that. I don't get jealous. You can't expect people to treat you how you treat them. But more importantly, if they're not saying my name, they just got bad taste. Like, what I'm saying. So let them
True. That's
fuck
the
with whoever
tea.
they fuck with. I'm just not your taste. You got bad taste. That's okay. But I
Yeah.
really feel like you can. I know that you can make it, and I
Thank you.
wholeheartedly believe you, and I'm a fan of you. But I just don't want you to like let Columbus like on that dream. Just like keep going.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. That's so nice to hear. I'm a huge fan of you too, so the feeling's mutual. Yeah, people don't like recognize that sometimes being in a scene, like being in a pond with so many fish, it can sometimes be hard to, not to I feel like sometimes I do lose that sight, but it's always good to come back to the fact that like the people who are in the scene that I love to watch and talk to, those are like my friends, I'm not just a comedian with them, and that's been really helping me with uh like the balance of comedy and life. And I think going forward, I'm gonna try to make some more moves. So like I'm always thinking ahead, but yeah, that's really nice to hear. It definitely makes me feel good. I'm going to a mic tonight, so maybe I'll see you there.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I'll definitely be there. It's still hot outside, so still not wearing drawers. It's really a thing.
I'm sorry you
Like
don't have AC.
my mom knows. Like it's bad. It's real bad. So that's why I just go up there and say it. I just don't be one. I just don't like the awkwardness. Like it's there. We all know. Let's continue with the jokes. Like, that's why it'd be
Yeah.
real bad when I do it at church though. That's the but it'd be hot. It'd be hot, bro. It'd be hot. But I always ask comedians these last questions as we wrap it up. Who is on your Mount Rushmore for comedy?
Oh wow. On my Mount Rushmore. Kind of depends. I feel like it's kind of a mix. Robin Williams is up there for me for sure. I think he's just such an amazing performer. Um, who else would I put up there? I definitely would put up someone like um I do really like Aziz Ansari. Like he's one of my favorite writers too. I think he's hilarious. Um and I would say who else would I put up there? I'd have to think about that. Maybe I saw that you were watching Carol Burnett. I think she deserves to be up there. She like pioneered comedy. Joan Rivers was up there for me for a while. She definitely was like a pioneer. Um and then as far as like someone new, I really like recently I've been really getting into I love Jeffrey Asmus. He's probably my favorite like comedian right now in the scene. Huge fan. Really love Shang Wang. He's up there. Ali Wong. Huge. I love Harper Rose Drummond and Gabby Lamb. They're in LA. And Blake Hammond's another one. I mean, he's from Cincy, but he's absolutely die laughing every time he goes on stage. Tom Takar. I mean, this is a giant Mount Rushmore now. Yeah, like I can be kind of nerdy sometimes with comedy because I really like to support people, so it would be endless for me. But from like the top down, that's kind of how it goes.
That's funny. What advice could you give to any comedian listening to this right now?
To really just go in like humble. I feel like being humble is a huge part of comedy and meeting people and getting to know what people are like and what comedians are like in the scene. You can't like survive you can't survive, I think, in this scene just like with no friends or no compassion for people. I'm like I do think I'm a people pleaser, but I also just really like everyone who does comedy because we all do it for kind of the same reason, to get our thoughts out there, to put ourselves out in this vulnerable position. So I think just for anyone who's watching who is thinking about comedy, just to lean in a little bit more. It's okay to also be vulnerable off stage. That's like a big part of growth, I think, and to have some humility when you're, getting up there in the ranks. The little people are always down here. And yeah, I think that a good comedian is someone who can recognize that they started somewhere just like everybody else. So I think just that's probably my message. It sounds kind of shady. It's not. I mean it in like the best way.
Message.
There was something you said I was gonna piggyback on, but I forgot. Gee, I definitely forgot. Um, oh, you do need friends, but I made it about 3, maybe 2.5 years without them, so you can go that far.
It's hard. I've done it too, and it makes it sad at the end. Like I
Yeah,
made two friends when I was in Chicago, and I'm friends with both of them still to this day. But yeah, I mean, it would be hard to do anything without them.
I know. As the older I get, I used to be one of those people that be like, I don't need somebody to share these life moments with. But now I'm getting older. I'm like, no, I do. I used
You
to
do,
be a big, I used to be a big loner, and now it's like, I kind of just want one person. Like, it's weird.
you're cool and you're fun and you're funny, like, who wouldn't wanna hang out with you?
I know, but well, my
I mean,
ex
maybe if
before
you're
that.
as long as there's air conditioning and you're not in your drawers, but that I cannot help you with.
I think I just need to live somewhere where you know that type of stuff is normal. Like in America, we still got a problem if a girl pull her breast out to breastfeed. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. Bridget, tell people why they should listen to comedians in bed.
Because you ask really good questions, and I think it's a fun, casual conversation. It doesn't always have to be about stand-up. We talk about documentaries, penile health. I think I think you've got a lot of good things to say. Learned about you, learned about me a little bit. I think everyone could watch this episode and walk out knowing that they learned something.
Bridget, tell people. Oh, my fault. We did not even talk about it. We could talk about it real quick. The Columbus Comedy Fest. You were on that. That's why we had you on here. How was that
Yeah,
experience of getting like selected? And then what is your show date?
yeah, I'm looking it up right now, so hold on. I reached out to Walker about like helping out with the fest, and then obviously I submitted. And I'm doing a few things because I'm part of a couple theaters around here. So, firstly, I am going to be doing the showcase for. Let me look it up. Uh. Wow, I need to be better about this. I should know. Um, yeah, hang on one second. I should know this. So I am. God, how did you get to yours performers? Here we go. All right. I think I'm on here somewhere. So the Columbus Comedy Fest is August, the week of August 13th and 14th and 15th throughout the rest of that weekend. And oh, you can cut this part out while I'm looking. Okay, I found myself. Okay. I'm going to be so on Thursday, I'm doing the stand-up showcase, which is at the Nest. It's very fun. There's going to be some special guests there from out of town, from different cities. They're also doing some other um, there's some other activities. I think there's going to be a performance with some of the other comedians like River Butcher and Alex Falcone, who are going to be doing like a set with us. And then on Saturday, August 17th, I'm going to be hosting for Amina Amani, which I'm really excited about, which is at the CPAC. So that'll be really fun, the Columbus Performance Arts Center.
Mhm.
So you can catch me both there, and then the entire weekend I'll just be running back and forth from everyone's show. So
I'm gonna try to do this. I'm gonna try to come see you on that Saturday. I gotta your first show. I got a show that same day too. What time is
yeah,
your
that's
show?
my show's at 7, and that's when like everybody else is. Yeah, it's like at the same time with everyone.
Yeah, mine's either at 7 or 8. One of those. Okay, cool. But if not that show, where else? Where can they find you at?
Yeah, I'm always at the Nest Theater and Anonymous, which is a monthly show. I am in the improv group at Hashtag, so you can catch me there once a month as well. I do shows at both theaters. I host my own show. My next one is going to be in August, I believe August 30th is my next one that I'm going to be hosting at the house of the owner of the Brass Hand, which is a cool store in Clintonville. And I am going to be all around Columbus. I'm doing Def Goldblum show on the 28th, which is this Friday. So it's where you can find me next at 10 p.m.
And they could follow you at.
Mendy. I think that's like all socials. That's what I am.
There we go. There we go. If you want to see next week's live episode, you can see it on my YouTube channel at TYE Comedy on YouTube. We go live every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you want to see weekly clips, you can add us on Instagram at Comedians in Bed podcast. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and review. Share this episode. Share the YouTube as well. You can listen to this podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Please make sure you check out Bridjet for our Columbus Comedy Fest, their inaugural one. Follow her on social media so that way you could see where she'll be at, and for her local shows too. I did one last year. It was pretty good, so check her out. Let's thank Bridjet for joining us today. Bridjet, everybody else, see you guys next week.
See ya. Thanks for having me.